Man, it's end time sleep. A couple hours here, a couple hours there. I had a couple of nights where I was doing pretty good. I slept for like 6 or 8 hours, but that's rare. I got to get in that groove. Like I had one day where I slept like 15 hours, and then from there it was like 8 and then 6, and now I'm back to like a couple here, a couple there. It's fine though. It's fine. I spent many years regulating my sleep through pharmaceuticals that I was prescribed to, for, along with the litany of other bullshit. Like when I was first hospitalized in 2008, I was very blue-pilled as far as what medication does to you or what it was even for. Coming out of the hospital, first time I had like I think I left there with 9, and then it was bumped up to 11. Different. And at the time, right, I was like, well, these guys went to school for it, right? They must know what they're talking about. So I'm just gonna do whatever they tell me. Looking back at it now, it's kind of horrifying, but because there are people that find themselves in that same situation all the time who just don't have the knowledge, and I didn't either. I just felt like, again, they must know what they're talking about, and they didn't know what they were talking about. How can they know what they were talking about? Because they weren't doing it, I mean, they didn't take any of that stuff. They didn't really know what it did outside of with their pamphlets or little information they had. And yeah, you do have to go to school and study this stuff, but there comes a point where you just kind of have to throw something against the wall and see what sticks, because it's different with every individual. And a lot of times I felt like they were just trying anything. There was mix and match. It changed doctor to doctor. Like you'd get a new guy in there, and he would want to redo your whole like battery of stuff that you take, just because he just showed up, and it seemed like they always wanted to undo what the last guy did, just as a point of like, because they're there now or something. It wasn't even like, there wasn't a lot of like rhyme or reason behind it. It was just like, well, I'm doing it now. I'm the doctor now, so the last guy didn't know what he's talking about. I do. There was that kind of thing. I'm gonna go into the store, so I'm just gonna put you down for a minute because I don't know what's going on. Hang on.
I'm going to Texas Thursday.
Where?
Texas.
Okay. Oh wow.
Yeah. Visit my brother.
All right.
Sorry.
Thank you. Okay.
How you doing? Can I get 2 packs of American Spirit Light Blue? And I'll buy a bag too, like a black bag. Thank you. Sorry, 1 second. I know this is exciting. Thank you. Thanks, man. Have a good night. Have a good night, man.
Yeah, good night.
Sorry about that. I hate that when I start that out. Like I'll get into a thought and then I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta go in this fucking store. So I'm sorry to put you through that. I don't need to do that to you. You know you mean a lot to me. Not you, but I'm talking about yeah, you. So, yeah, I came out with all this stuff, and I felt like I have to just follow what they're telling me. And when you break it all down, like most of the stuff they give you, the way it affects, I mean, it does different stuff to your brain. You have like the SSRI uptake inhibitors, all that does is move around your serotonin, mood stabilizers. Then there's the antipsychotics, which is supposed to keep you from fucking tibbing out or whatever. I think it has the same kind of they'll feel the same basically. They feel like different strengths of a fucking sleeping pill or a zombifying kind of, especially when you get into the antipsychotic. Some of that shit, like Seroquel, you can't function on it. It puts you in this kind of state where you just want to sleep. Like I used to sleep like hours and hours a day. I wake up, I'd go to an appointment or something. Luckily my wife was there from the very beginning of all this happening. Pretty much. Like I had met her just prior to going in, the first time in 2008. So she was a big help. At first when I came out, I didn't want to see anybody because it was like, you know, it's embarrassing when something like that happens to you. You just feel like, oh man, you know, you feel like a fucking failure and you let everybody down. I wasn't working with the guys in the band anymore. The whole family thing, I just felt like, you know, you feel like you let people down. It's a tough feeling. And like I was talking to someone today who was asking me about if it's a bad idea to be diagnosed, and I told them, I'm like, yes, absolutely, do not go there, do not get diagnosed, because if you do, it's going to follow you around for the rest of your life. Like, I wasn't going to have a normal life after that. There was just no way. My prospects for a lot of things sort of went out the window. And yeah, there's some anonymity with your medical records, but there's certain kind of diagnoses and certain things that you kind of have to disclose sometimes, just for, I guess, for legal purposes, or if something happens later. Same thing with employers, same thing like renting a place, like from someone. It gets tricky, you know, and it sucks because there's a stigma around a lot of mental health issues. I remember getting out of the hospital and going to movies with my wife, and this was 2008. Went to see Batman: The Dark Knight Returns. I'm a big Batman guy. I always have been since I was a kid. I know Batman. I get it. I know all the occult shit. I understand, but everything's fine. There was a time when it could have been pointed out to me if this was bad. For me, it wasn't mentioned. I think I'm all right. So, yeah, and there was a scene in the movie where one of the Joker's men, they caught one of his men. And he's just fucking giggling like an idiot in a fucking chair. And they asked him questions, and he's like he's not answering them. He's just like making a crazy face and laughing. And Batman comes in and he's like, you don't get anything out of him. He's a paranoid schizophrenic. And that cuts to him and it's like, ha 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 ha. And it's like, oh, come on, man. You know what I mean? It seems like there's like, it's okay to shit on people like that in the media. Like they find like it's okay to, like this ad here drives me nuts. And I made my own kind of version of it. Because it's like, I still see it all the time. I saw this years ago. I still see it today. And then to juxtapose how, now it's not offensive to me. I'm Irish. I'm not offended by shit. But I can see someone could be. Do you know what I mean? Like, look at how that looks. And then, so if you add something like this to it, right? I bet that would make some people mad, right? But it's the same thing how Asian people were treated in society up until fairly recently. It was like it was just fair game. If people could fucking rag on them all they wanted to, and it seemed socially acceptable. It's fucking crazy, but that's how it was, because they didn't make a big deal about it. They didn't give a fuck. But just because you don't protest against something doesn't mean that it's okay to do. That's how evil works. That's how evil works in contracts. It's like it has something it wants to do to you, right? It presents it to you in a way that you understand it, or that it thinks you can understand it, or it's possible for you to understand it. If you don't object to it, it takes that as a tacit admission that you acquiesce to it, and therefore it's okay for them to do. That's how they work. People talk about movies or TV. When that happens in a movie or television show, the movie is the contract. The television show is the contract. They're saying this. If you watch it and you accept it, then what you're telling them is, okay, it's okay to do this. Silence to the beast is just not approval, but the word's escaping. The acquiescing to whatever they want to do to you by not saying something. They put it out there and they say, well, if you don't say something, then I guess it's okay to do this to you. That's how they work. That's how evil works in terms and contracts. Terms and conditions. So in that way, if you don't say something, then they just keep doing it, and then you'll be able to keep doing it. So yeah, there's been like that mental health awareness shit. You see that hashtag coming out every once in a while, but it really doesn't mean anything. There's no teeth to it, and not like I'm saying there should be. I mean, there's enough victim causes in the world, but everybody's got one. It becomes the victimhood Olympics, and that's not what I'm advocating for. But I'm just saying the attitude towards it makes it so that it's not something you can talk about very easily without not even people being judgmental, but just not taking it seriously, And when someone doesn't take things seriously, you create in some circumstances it creates an element of danger. It's like the kids saying, oh yeah, that guy across the street's looking at me with binoculars. No, he's not. Stop it. You want to know that. You want to take that seriously. Especially if it's me the one who's looking with the binoculars, because then, I can go to a different window. But the point is, what the fuck is the point? I don't even know what the point is at this point. Yeah, I took a bunch of I didn't know better. And I took a bunch of their medications. Almost fucking killed me. Similar story to a lot of people. Because I trusted a stupid system that isn't even a real fucking... It's not even a real medical system. It's not even a real thing. It's a made up fucking... It's a made up job with a whole made up fucking lore along with it by doctors who have no idea what any of this shit does because they're not on it. Yeah, it used to kill me. Like, I'd go in there and be like, well, let's take you down 10% off the Risperdal. Maybe raise up the Seroquel. And the Geodone. How about the Geodone? It's like, dude, you don't know what any of this shit does, dude. I mean, you might have memorized what it says, but when it goes in your body, you have no fucking idea what the shit is. I do. You don't. But the greatest authority on you is you. Not some fucking Khazar in a lab coat. No matter what the experts tell you, or no matter how expert he is. You are the utmost authority on your health and well-being. There's no one higher. And don't let them make you think that that's not true. because it's absolutely true. You gotta listen to your body, you gotta listen to your inner spiritual shit test. It's very important that you do. You can't just passively say, like, do what I did. And be like, well, you know, these guys know better, I'm gonna defer to them. That's why it gets me so crazy when I see people like, well, listen to the experts, don't do your own research. Or you do your own research on Facebook. I think the experts went to school long enough that they know what they're talking about. No, they don't. A lot of times they don't. They carry on a fucking laptop, opened it to Wikipedia. Well, are you sleeping a lot? Yeah, I'm fucking sleeping 18 hours a day. Okay. Well, the notes here says you haven't mentioned Sandy Hook in a while. Well, yeah, I can't talk about Sandy Hook, I'm sleeping. Wow, looks like we're making progress. You know? You could live a semi-normal life for the next 15 years. I came in on one doctor one time that had all my bio shit up, whatever the fuck it's called, all my records up on the computer. And my life expectancy was to 55, based on the current information he had. Now, I wasn't supposed to see this, but I saw it. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I thought I was fucking tripping. I'm like, does that say I have like till 55? And I'm doing the math. I'm like, that's like what, 9 years, 10 years? You know, at the time, however old I was in my 40s. I was diagnosed with all this shit very late. I was like, how old was I when I fucking cracked up? And I only cracked up because I stopped doing drugs and alcohol, which I didn't realize at the time was covering up all these other symptoms that I was experiencing. But it really was since I was a kid, since I was a teenager. But I had so much shit going on that I learned to compartmentalize, or I just knew how to do it mysteriously. That allowed me to just get on with it. I had like little tricks, little like things I would do to make it so that I was functional to a degree. And then when I started, I was a late bloomer with drugs and alcohol. Yeah, well, I started because of music. I blame everything on rock and roll. I remember my first big sort of gig in the city in Boston, playing at a big club. I was lucky enough to join a band that was already kind of happening, so it wasn't like I didn't have to do open mic Tuesdays. I didn't pay my dues, even to this day. I always lucked into one situation after another where we were already had some kind of billing clout in one band, in another band, and on and on. I never paid my dues. So first big gig I had. I mean, I never got successful either, so it's not like but as far as having to play, like, shit gigs, I never had to do shit gigs. I was lucky. So the first night, I hadn't played live in a big city. This is Boston, Kenmore Square, blah, blah, blah. And I remember one of my band members was like, hey, just have a shot, it'll loosen you up. And it did. I forget what it was, a shot of something. I did a couple of shots of something. I wasn't a drinker, wasn't a drug user. I was a fucking nerd, which is good. I mean, that's a good thing. And but I was also kind of reserved and shy because of things, in your past when you're a kid. I had a real bad stuttering problem for many years. Just all kinds of dumb bullshit that fucks you up. So yeah, I did a couple shots, like, wow, that's great. And it went off great, So, a couple of shots before the gig worked that good. Well, we should do it every time. And then maybe add some of this, maybe add some of that. So you come to a point where, 15 years later, 2007 or whatever, I'm just in that state all the time. Because the more you work, the more like busy you become, the more active you become in music. Is you just, sometimes it feels like you're doing one thing after another. And it's not just like gigs. You have to do things for the band, whether it's something promotional or you just out doing like a photo thing with the group, or you're going on a college radio station. You're always in that mode. And when you're not recording or performing yourself, you're at someone else's thing, just because you have to maintain your, I don't know, your place in the circle, or whatever the fuck it is. I don't know, you have to move around. So I was just fucked up all the time. So what I was doing is I was just covering up a lot of that shit. So when I stopped doing that and I got sober, it just all came back, and I forgot how to handle it. I forgot how to deal with all the shit, because I had the training wheels of drugs and alcohol on for so long. Not training, but whatever the fuck. Yeah, it was like I had fucking, that was my way to navigate. And I forgot all the little tools that I used to use to appear to be relatively okay. And then it was just like fucking crazy town. It was fucking crazy town. And that can happen, And at that time, I was completely blue-pilled as far as, medicine, or, especially with psychotic meds and shit. So I just did whatever they said. That was a huge mistake. That was a huge mistake. I'm down to one these days that it's such a pain in the ass to get off. Effexor. I've done like a ton of videos on it. I could do it if I applied myself. It's just I would kind of have to just focus on that for like months. You can't live any kind of life and try to worry about how many of the little balls you're taking out of the capsule every day. And inevitably what would happen is I'd get down like, I'm now taking out 10 balls a day. I'd have some kind of mini meltdown. Or I'd have the idea that I was going to have some kind of mini meltdown. And then I'd be like, oh shit, I'm just going to take a full one. I'll go back. And then it's, it repeats. I've never had a antidepressant do that before. Usually to get off an antidepressant is fairly easy. You get off of something like Prozac, it has a half-life that it sits in your system for a while. So when you get off it, it's just stop taking it. Or you can taper down, and it's not that bad. With something like Effexor, you get your brain a certain way by being on it, and you need that every day. And your brain gets used to having that every day. And if you don't have it every day, it feels like what starts to happen is when you take clothes out of a dryer and you get that static cling between clothing, maybe socks or something, that you feel that kind of static electricity on your brain. I mean, we are just electricity, so it kind of makes sense if there's something like that going on. And for me, it can make me very agitated, along with that kind of thing going. It makes me makes me less tolerant of things, maybe a bit paranoid, and I tend to have like little mini meltdowns. So then I get back on it, and then but that's the only thing I'm still dealing with, is that after all these years. Like I said, up to one point I was on 11 medications, and you figure some of these you take 2 or 3 times a day, 2 or 3 pills at once per dose. So I was fucked up my body so bad. I really did. I was wicked fucked. I was wicked fucked. Also, I wouldn't quote unquote act crazy, and I was never like violent. I would never like attack anybody. I'd never like, I had some instances where I'd be out in public doing weird shit. I never hurt anyone. I never intentionally tried to do something like that. And my freakouts even in public weren't like, I didn't climb the clock tower, and they had to send the cops there. It wasn't like anything. Although I've had cops have to, walk me off the ledge a couple times. Not literally, but I told a story about that recently where that happened here a couple years ago, in a Killing Joke related incident. But it's rare. It's rare. And even then, it's not like I'm not a danger to anyone, or even to myself. So the trade you're making, it's not a good one. You know, if you can. And the thing too is, once you get diagnosed with this shit and it goes on your medical record, good luck doing a lot of shit. You know, you'll never own a firearm, that's for sure. I mean, that's an extreme example, but a lot of places, there are a lot of times in life where it's gonna come up. It's gonna come up. More than you would think. There's that whole thing about, you know, medical privacy and all that stuff. Well, as we've seen in the past couple of years, it doesn't mean shit. You know, you have people in the fucking demanding to know your status with certain things and saying if you don't show a card for your status with certain things. So that whole private medical thing, it's fake. It's not real. There's no expectation of medical privacy any longer. I mean, if there really ever was, you know, I don't think there really ever was, but there certainly isn't now. So this is a long way to get back to saying, yeah, don't get diagnosed for shit. And unironically, do your own research. Just kind of look at what your problems are. The thing is, you got to be careful with that too, because a lot of times when you try to self-diagnose, you can also a hypochondriacal element can set in. Like, shit, I fucking turn the light on and off all the time too. Like, you'll start to attach simple things to it, but better you do that than some fucking Khazar in a white dress, because they don't have your best interest in mind at all. That's for fucking damn sure. Or at least, you know, you have a better shot with yourself. But whatever you do, like I told this guy today, don't get an official diagnosis, because it'll fuck you up. It'll fuck up your life. And whatever you do, don't get 2 major ones, or really 3. You know, you don't want that. You know, I fucked that shit up so long ago that I've gotten to a point now where I've had to do a lot to maintain my anonymity. Yeah, that's. Well, I'm gonna go in now. Don't blame the teacher, blame the school.